Hi everybody and welcome. My name is Scott Laird. I'm the orchestra director at the North Carolina School of Science and Math, and we're going to give a little session today on achieving a cello sound with an electric violin. Over the years I've been sort of chasing a good cello sound for a variety of reasons, all the way back to my work with Believer when I was scoring and recording orchestral sounds with a rock band, to this moment that we're in right now of hybrid teaching, where I'm creating audio guides for my students to play along to as we learn string orchestra repertoire. And so over the past couple of months while we've been doing this, I've really been thinking a lot about how to achieve a cello sound with an electric violin. So I want to walk you through some of that process and just give you a little bit of insight into my journey with it. So I've got a couple of different resources here. I've got a 4-string CR electric violin here, and I've got a 5-string CR violin as well. If I grab the 5-string right now, the 5-string goes down to a low C, and so if I am playing with it, it's just a standard. So the very first way that I would try to achieve the cello sound, years ago I had an effects processor that had an octave setting on it, and it would process that sound. I could play along with it. And so with this violin, one way that I can get that cello sound is to turn on an effects processor. I use an octave machine that's not even manufactured anymore, called a drop tune. But you can find an octave effect on and a pitch shifting effect on lots of different effects processors. I personally like the Digitech pitch shifters a lot, so you might check out Digitech as one possibility. So let me just play a little bit. So you can hear that you get that octave down. It's a little bit mechanical sounding to my ear, and one of my values here is I'm trying to get the most natural sound possible. Another function on most pitch shifters is that it will play your actual pitch and the octave down, which sounds like this. Now that to me sounds a little bit more natural because it has the little bit of that attack that comes with the transients in your playing. The upper harmonics get placed in there in a nicer way. So a lot of times if I'm using an effects processor like that, I will want to keep that octave sound in. So I'm hearing the actual pitch of my violin and the octave down. That's one way. Okay. Now another way to do it is to record in your actual pitch, and then after it's been recorded, you can then use the pitch shifting function in your digital audio workstation. I'm working in Pro Tools back here, and so I have one here that I did a pitch shift for. Let's just play that for you. I was working on Eine kleine Nachtmusik today. Now to me, it still gets that little bit of a mechanical sound. Now something I've found is if I process that after it's been performed in time with my click track, I have noticed that sometimes it pulls out of time a little bit. It's not real solid with the click track. Whereas if I perform it live with the effects processor, it is a much more in-time performance. One thing about the effects processor that I notice, if I'm using the octave only, like in this case, the string or the sound responds a little bit later than I play it. Oh, actually, I'm not there, am I? Yeah. there we go. You might notice that that sound takes just a little bit of time to get out there. So I have to almost anticipate when I'm playing along to a click track. So that's part of the kind of the decision-making process. How can I get the most accurate performance possible? Now, a few years ago, my friends at the D'Addario company came up with a string called an octave string, which I have gone ahead and placed on my 4-string instrument. And now there are no effects on this instrument right now. And yet, to me, the octave string, it's a helicore string that's an octave down, actually gives me a great cello sound. And now I've got something that really sounds good when I mix it in with the rest of my string orchestra. So at this point, I have really gravitated 100% to the D'Addario octave strings on my CR 4-string violin. Now, there's a couple of drawbacks here. One of the drawbacks is that on a 5-string violin, I go down to an open C. And on the 4-string violin, I only go down to an open G. So now if I'm playing anything that's going to be on the C string on the cello, I have to transpose it up an octave. For me, I'm so used to doing that in the classroom when I'm playing along or demonstrating for cellos that it's really not that big of a problem. But it is another factor to consider. If the cello part's got a lot of stuff down there on that C string, you may want to use the 5-string violin with the effects processing to get that low C function. So in the end, when you're trying to play cello parts on electric violin, you really have 3 legitimate options. An effects processor with an octave function, either with only the lower octave or both actual pitch and the lower octave. Two options there. The second option is to record it in real time, in real pitch, in actual pitch on your violin, and use the built-in effects processor on your digital audio workstation to bump that pitch down later. Gets a little bit of a mechanical sound and it might push it out of time a little bit. For my money, I don't like that option a whole lot. And then finally, the option that I have grown to use the most in these times is the D'Addario helicore octave strings on my CR4 violin, and then I could play it in the pitch that the cello would actually play. To just give you a couple of kind of examples of what it sounds like all put together, I will come here and play for you the octave string, the one that I actually use in the mix. Let's give you that. Okay, now I'm going to take that out and I'll give you a feel for the effects. This is the one that was recorded in real pitch and then changed afterwards. It's a little too mechanical. Okay, and then finally the one where I use the effects processor, and let's give you just a little bit of that one. To me, that one's a little bit late. And now if I go back to the one that I actually really like with the D'Addario octave strings. By itself. So there you have it. I hope that defines it a little bit, and I hope that gave you maybe some ideas of what you can do with recording with your NS design, electric violins, and maybe incorporate some of that into your teaching. For now, thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in another one of these videos. Thanks.